And one of the things also that you learn when you work with ayahuasca and you go through a one heart, you learn about the reverence behind it and you find that within yourself. You start to live life as a ceremony. And that's one of the biggest things. If there's one thing that you take from this entire podcast, is that I look at life now as a ceremony. And everything that I do, I treat with the reverence of a ceremony.
Welcome to the Awakened Leader Podcast, transformative stories with plant medicine by One Heart. In each episode, we'll speak one-on-one with high-performing, heart-centered leaders and conscious creators. We'll go deep on how their lives have been transformed from their work with sacred psychedelic plant medicine within our unique One Heart container. You'll hear stories from CEOs, changemakers, and creatives on their experience. Learn how these moments have propelled them to elevate their life and the lives of those around them. Each guest has completed One Heart's 8-week Human Accelerator for Life Elevation program. The One Heart container brings together 40 amazing, heart-centered leaders for an epic 1-week transformational journey in Costa Rica, plus 7 weeks of virtual preparation and integration before and after. Our intention with this podcast is to plant a seed within your heart that we are all powerful, conscious creators capable of manifesting our most aligned lives filled with joy, fulfillment, and love. Our mission is to elevate the life, work, and community of heart-centered leaders by reminding them our truth, that I am you, you are me, we are one. My name is Brandon Evans, Chief Elevation Officer at One Heart. And in today's episode, we welcome Gerard Adams from One Heart Journey 2. Gerard is an American serial entrepreneur, millennial branding expert, philanthropist, TedX speaker, and business executive. He is best known as a co-founder of Elite Daily, which was sold to the Daily Mail in 2015 for $50 million. Gerard has been named one of the top 100 most influential by Business Insider and became a self-made millionaire at 24. Currently, he's the founder of Leaders Create Leaders, a conscious leadership training institute, empowering and equipping a community of impact-driven leaders for a better future. In this episode, Gerard shares how the acquisition of his company left him depressed rather than fulfilled, his major breakthroughs on his journey that reconnected him to the divine feminine and ultimately called in his life partner, how he found self-love for the first time, and how he now treats all of life as a ceremony. Gerard and I also discussed the importance of playing big games, how becoming a father has continued his transformation, the power and skill of leaders expressing authentically, and much more. We hope that Gerard's stories will strike a chord in you and remind you that you're ready for these powerful transformations too. Now enjoy our first episode with Gerard Adams. So welcome, Gerard Adams. Super excited to have you here on the very first Stories of Transformation. I selected you for a reason to kick this call off, for several reasons, really. We had you on our second journey, so almost 4 years ago, you came on a One Heart journey, and just been blown away by all the things you are up to. I get so much pleasure seeing your Instagram, talking to you, hearing the updates, and would love to hear how much things have shifted for you from before the journey till now. I also love that you have a very similar mission in really leveling up leaders, and that's really been the mission for One Heart from day one. Is how do we elevate the consciousness of leaders so what they create in the world creates reverberating effect for everyone else. And so very excited to talk to you about that. We'll talk a little more, toward a little later in the podcast on all you're up to, but so proud of you and your mission and everything you're up to in the world.
Oh, brother, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Just so honored to be here and to be chosen to kick this journey off with you being able to tell the stories of just such remarkable human beings. Our community is one of the greatest communities I feel on the planet, and it's just something that I cherish every single day, being a part of One Heart. It's truly changed my life. It's truly impacted me in ways that I look forward to today sharing as much as I can to just honor that before One Heart and after One Heart. Such a significant difference. And thank you, brother, for not only hosting this show and telling the stories of our community and choosing me, but most importantly for being like the steward with Barry and building One Heart because of you, both of yours vision and coming together and really stewarding this mission of One Heart. You'll never truly know, I feel, the impact that has been created that will go on for literally generations to come. And so, yeah, brother, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being such a bright light and representation of all we aim to do here. So excited to dive in with you. So yeah, maybe we can start a little bit with, I'd love the audience to have a little better idea of Gerard coming into One Heart and who you were, maybe some of the things you were wrestling with and what brought you there in the first place.
Well, I mean, I got to be honest. I did not want to come to One Heart when I first found out about it. I was so tired, so burnt out. I was, for those that are listening that may not know me, I have been a serial entrepreneur for going close to 20 years now. And right before meeting One Heart, I had a dream come true. I had my first real big exit, gave him my elevator pitch. He came, and our goal was really to get him to become an advisor to us, to really learn from what he had built at BuzzFeed and now going to the Daily Mail with kind of an idea that like this could lead to an exit one day. But little did we know that within 6 months of him seeing the culture, because it was for millennials by millennials. So there was other publications that were trying to capture the millennial audience, but literally everyone writing for our company was about 24 years old on average, if not younger. And so we really were the voice of Generation Y. And he fell in love. And next thing you know, he goes to acquire us. And we had like days to make the decision before the deal was off the table. And it was a wild, stressful board meeting and just decision to make. But we ended up selling. And I went through a really interesting time in my life because I didn't want to sell my company. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know who Gerard was outside of the labels and the company that I was building. Right. And so like identity, I didn't know who I was. And so when the company sold, I was like, my identity was lost. I felt weirdly enough depressed and felt like I sold out, that it didn't amount to what I thought it could have become. And just it was a really interesting time. I felt like I just didn't know who I was. And so I remember just sitting on a balcony one day and I just asked God, I was just like, God, why did this happen? You know? And God was like, well, it was for a purpose. And I never thought about like what my purpose was. I was an entrepreneur that just came from New York City. I was a gritty, New York state of mind, young kid, didn't have a college degree. Like I just was all about the grind and the hustle and building up my success brick by brick. And so it was this interesting moment where God was like, it was for a purpose, and that purpose is for you to go and show others and give them hope and show them that this is possible, that they can create success for their lives, and especially the younger generation. And at that moment, I got asked to speak on stages all over the world, from Egypt, Tokyo, Bali, Madison Square Garden. And one day I was in Silicon Valley speaking for Tim Draper, and I was just seeing the ecosystem that was being built there for entrepreneurs. And I had never seen anything like that before. These incubators and accelerators and all of these resources for these entrepreneurs, and I was like, man, I never saw anything like that growing up. And so I was like, what if I started to build an ecosystem and brought that model of an incubator and accelerator into an inner city where there's young men and women like me that grew up that didn't have access to those kind of resources or mentorship. And so I built it. And at the time I thought that this would solve that problem of me feeling like I didn't do enough. Like I didn't know who I was. And maybe if I do something of purpose to give back, that I will feel better. And I went back to the same operating system of the hustle and the grind. And I'm building this, incubator and accelerator, and I'm giving back. And I'm proud of all of those things that I was doing at that time. But deep down inside, I still felt like pretty broken. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
wasn't good enough, and just didn't understand love, like self-love ever. I never heard that term before. I really just was out to prove myself. I still had this chip on my shoulder
Yeah.
against the world.
You're hitting on so many chords that I think is really, my story and the reason we started One Heart, because it's a very familiar problem that a lot of us kind of type A, high performers in the world, we're used to kind of creating, and that defines us. And we don't have an identity outside of what we're creating at the moment. And I've seen so many kind of unable to get off of that, continual hamster wheel. And we try to do things a little more meaningful, or, shifted here, shifted there, without actually doing the inner work, finding the self-love, finding the real reason we're here, and what keeps us going. And that's a huge part of why we started One Heart, because it was like I was constantly seeing, my own story, seeing other leaders that were just so, so burnt out, so trying all these different things, trying to jump from this to this, trying to make it all work. And there just was no joy in it. There was no fulfillment. And people doing amazing things, people you would think would be, on top of the world, and yet they weren't. And that was my story. Obviously it sounds a lot, that's your story. A lot of the people that we brought, especially Journey 2, we had so many like massively successful people. And we heard a lot, heard a similar story from a lot of them. So I just wanted to call that out, because I think that really speaks a lot to, a problem that I think is happening a lot with the leaders today.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I wanted to really kind of give a little bit of that backstory, because it's true. And like the thing is like, because we're really good at it, like I was really good at just going and building the next thing, like moving from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And like if there's one thing I know, is that the hustle works too. Like I knew how to hustle. And again, if, like you said, like if I was able to just make it a little more meaningful now, right? Like it motivated me. I wanted to get back to this inner city, and I wanted to build something that I was proud of, and near where I grew up and all those things. But you're right. Like I actually never took a moment to do this inner work. It was all things external that I was trying to fill this void with. And it's where I was comfortable.
Yeah. So as you look back, I mean, maybe you didn't know this coming into One Heart. As you look back at Gerard, walking in, who was that person? Like, what was that? What is some of the things that you now know about who you were kind of walking into that experience?
Yeah. One thing I can say for sure, because it reminds me of the moment that I go to Miami for another event speaking, and Barry Stamos sits me down and is like, pretty much shakes me like, you need to come with us to Costa to this thing. And it was right during like New Year's, holidays and everything. And I was so tired. Like I had done so much work throughout that year. And it was just one thing about me that I'll say about the Gerard prior was that I was nonstop. Like I never came up for air. It was to the point where like my friends and family would like stopped even trying to invite me to things, because I was the busy guy. I'm just busy. Work's my priority. Work's the most important thing in my life. And tired, burnt out, just burnt out, but kind of trying to fake the funk a little bit, because like of the accolades, right? I'm winning Entrepreneur of the Year award. I'm getting on lists. I'm getting on stages. Like it looks from the outside in, you wouldn't know that Gerard's burnt out. It looks like Gerard's got it all figured out. But internally, I'm freaking burnt out. I'm tired. I'm a little bit depressed. Like I'm feeling like I still am, like I haven't done enough. There's more doing to do. And so that was a lot of, and it was a lot of like proving myself still. I still, even after selling a company, it was like, I still felt like I needed to prove myself. To who, I don't know, maybe to everyone, but most importantly to myself. And that was me leading up to that conversation. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then things, yeah, Barry, Barry's a very convincing, if you guys don't know Barry, Barry's like, it's like a big teddy bear. And there really truly was this conviction in his eyes. Like, I just felt his heart, and it was like, no, there's something really here for me. And even though I'm resisting it because I want to just relax and celebrate the new year with my family, it was like, I need this. I need to go.
So Barry shaking you, literally your call. I remember that the first time I took Barry on I told him he had to come on an ayahuasca journey. He's like, I don't know, I'm not being called. And I'm like, Barry, I'm calling you right now. Barry shaking you got you to a place where you were feeling that call. What else was kind of coming up for you? What made you ultimately take that
well,
leap?
There was a little bit of fear. I think there was a little bit of fear, and I'm someone who truly believes in, if it's uncomfortable, if it's uncertain, if it's hard, then most likely that's where your growth is, and like lean into that fear. And so I knew that like all these, it was uncomfortable. Like, what is ayahuasca? And like shaman and ayahuasca. And it was just like, I'm a little uncertain. Do I know anybody? I don't really know anybody but Barry. And it was a little hard for me. Just the unknown of, will this change me in a way where I'll lose touch with reality and, just abandon things that are important to me in my life. And will I get addicted to it? Will I get sick? Will I can I handle it? There was, the biggest one for me was like, I was so tired and so like burnt out that like I felt like my body needed to rest, and I was like, I don't know if I'll make it through it. Like, I'm worried that I'll get sick. Like, this will have me, I hear you can like puke and purr, all these things. Like, I was worried about even my health. Like, maybe this will actually get me, even more burnt out, more sick or something like that.
Got it. And so then obviously you came, and you were a big part of Journey 2. Share a little bit about what that experience was like for you. And then I'd love to get into maybe some of the moments that really transformed you or that had the biggest impact.
Sheesh. Well, first of all, this was just one of the most beautiful places in the world. Just out in nature, it just felt really, really great. And but I'll never forget meeting the shaman in the very beginning and just being like, there's no way. This is the shaman. I was expecting some like Buddha looking dude. And it was just this guy that I just didn't expect to be a shaman. And that was like the first lesson for me, was like how much I judge, and like, that was like, okay, like, whoa, like, let me let go of this. And I remember going up to him and just like sharing that with him and being like, wow, I didn't expect you to be the shaman. But the very first ceremony was so hard. And afterwards, I remember thinking, I can't go on. There's no way I can go the next two ceremonies. And it was because I didn't purge the entire time. And so literally almost the ceremony like pretty much closed. Everyone went out by the bonfire. And then I finally got up and I went to go to the bathroom, and I finally just like fell into this ditch, like purged. And luckily I had like the tribe around me supporting me. But I had it's interesting. Like, the first one was a little dark for me. It was like stirring up this darkness in me and bringing it to the surface. And I was just letting go of that same judgment that I uncovered in looking at the shaman in myself, and how much I judge myself, how much I'm constantly judging myself for not doing enough, not being enough, all these things. And so it was a lot of that I felt was being released. It was like I was finally done. I was like, geez, like I'm just so hard on myself. I'm just judging myself. And I just like that purge was just like release of all of that, like finally letting it go of like all this judgment. And there was also just another really powerful moment where my intention was also to connect with the divine feminine. I was ready to meet my goddess and start a family. And this woman showed up in my first ceremony that I had met briefly in the Hamptons, a friend of a friend's girlfriend, and I had found out that she committed suicide. And I couldn't believe it. This girl was beautiful, fun, like again, looked like from the outside, like how there's no way this person looks like they have it all. And I found out she committed suicide. And she shows up in my journey. And I remember going through this deep empathy and like just forgiving her, letting her know like, hey, like you were forgiven, like as if she was stuck and she just wasn't forgiving herself. And I just felt this like presence of Jesus that was like forgive her so that she can come to peace. And that will then bring peace to her family, and that all of those that are continuing to carry that. And that was like strange for me, but it really was part of these like 3 ceremonies that added up to 3 different experiences with the feminine that led to a massive breakthrough for me internally of connecting to the divine feminine.
It's beautiful. And now I know you found your sacred partner, and we'll get into that in a bit, and also brought in a beautiful daughter. So certainly connected to that energy, which has been beautiful to see happening for you over the past year, really. So tell me a little bit more. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about your experience. Like maybe how was like the group? What types of relationships have you built with people from the One Heart Tribe? What has that meant to you moving forward in your life?
Yeah, for me, that was like one of the most amazing parts was the way it was curated. I just felt it was world class. Like I felt I could relate to everyone that was a part of it. Different walks of life, but very similar mindsets, playing a big game, like here to play a big game, here to truly help the world become a better place for their family, their lineage, but for the world, for the planet, and just everyone wanting to play a big game. And so it's just an epic group, lifelong friends. I mean, people that I ended up seeing that ended up getting married and celebrating them, getting married, to collaborations and doing business partnerships, to just amazing friendships. Just to this day, I'm still talking. I just got off a call with Paul last week, inviting him to come hang out for 4th of July. And just so much of the tribe is just, I feel like infinitely connected now, and just one heart. It's the reason why I'm doing this podcast with you. It's just because it's family. It really becomes family. And you may not talk. It's like you may not talk every day, but it's like soul fam.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, I struggle. Obviously, we have a lot of journeys, and I struggle to keep in touch with everyone the way I'd love to. And I just feel that when I just seeing like your Instagram post, or just seeing you here today and being able to share this with you, it's like we're back on journey 2 and sharing that energy. So it's amazing to be here with you. So maybe we could take that into. I'd love to hear how your main thing now, I believe, is leaders creating leaders. Leaders create leaders. I'd love to hear about what you're up to and how this has helped shape that and inform the work that you're doing now, your mission in the world.
I think for me, those journeys, specifically, even the third ceremony, when I never cried like that my entire life. So for those who listening, like purging doesn't just look like puking, right? Like there's so many different things, from shaking to, for me, crying in that third ceremony. I cried and I let this little Gerard, this little boy that was 12 years old, that didn't get to truly grieve the death of his grandmother. And I felt my grandmother, and I connected with my grandmother, and I connected to her love, and I connected to truly just loving myself in ways that I've never loved myself, like fully feeling that self-love. And it was just so healing for me. And from that place, more than how my work changed, I changed. My beingness changed. My identity changed. The way that I started showing up even on social media changed. The way I showed up in relationships changed. I just became more present. I became just more present to what is important. I slowed down. I started letting go of the things that I thought I needed to do in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, in order to be worthy, in order to be enough. I let go of all of that, and I started to actually embody that worthiness, embody that love, embody that acceptance. And from that place, I started to express myself. And so from there, like everything started to become more effortless. Whereas pre One Heart Journey, everything was a grind, everything was a hustle. I was talking about that earlier, right? And I was good at it. Like I love the grind, I love the hustle. If you're an entrepreneur, a real entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. It feels good, especially when you're doing things that are impactful and it's what you love doing.
Mhm.
But it's important to also bring harmony to that and truly be able to understand how to create balance between that hustle and harmony. And for me,
Yeah.
One Heart helped me to create that balance. And so I stopped trying to hustle so much to the point where I would sacrifice my health, I would sacrifice my relationships, and I flipped it. And I started prioritizing my relationships. I started prioritizing my health. I started prioritizing being a match to that queen and to bringing a daughter into the world. My daughter Skyla's here. And so like, for me, it was like my being changed. And from
Yeah.
that place, everything became more effortless.
Yeah. The word that's coming in for me is authenticity. And like you see and feel your authenticity. A lot of times, you're a pretty big guy on Instagram and have a pretty big following. And a lot of times you follow people and it just doesn't feel authentic. And I think with you can feel that authenticity. And it's so important in the work that you're doing, teaching other leaders, because a lot of times I know this, I know I can speak for myself. Our minds might get there first. Like I know the right thing to do. I have an idea of how to help the world, but I'm not there. I'm not feeling that self-love, or I'm not treating people, in that way that I'm, telling others. And so it's really, this type of work really allows you to get to embody it, to really feel it, to get yourself in a place where it's coming from an authentic place. And then it's amazing what happens. We get to watch, Lila's before and after stories. Things just start attracting when you're in that authentic place versus when you're, kind of fighting what you think you should be doing and what you're actually doing. And when your thoughts, words, and actions are all in different places. It's kind of that alignment is for me is what this medicine and, hopefully our experience is about more than anything. It's like finding true alignment. And that's when, things just start to flow.
Yeah, agreed. And I just want to be clear that like, yes, there is this like quantum shift in every cell of your being. And that's when like the real work begins. Like the thing that I realized was like coming home from One Heart. That's when you're hit with the old patterns, the old relationships, the old environment, the old people and places and all the things. And it's like, that's when I feel, you guys taught us that, right? It was like that integration is 80% of the transformation. And so for me, it's like, I feel the actual journey itself is like the seed and the catalyst. But then when you go home, you got to water it. You got to like really stay in that alignment, stay in that frequency. But the thing is like now you have a new level of consciousness, a new level of awareness, so that when these old things show back up, you're able to be like, okay, I see that, but you know what? That's not my highest alignment. Like I'm choosing consciously this path that is more aligned to who I get to be in the world, what I want to attract, what I want to create. And that's what happened, And so I started building my businesses in that way. Leaders Create Leaders has become such a powerful mission for me, and continuing to create this collective of heart-led leaders, conscious creators, impact-driven entrepreneurs, continue to foster that community and just play with them. I've had so much fun in building these relationships, supporting them on their leaders' journey through our programs and retreats. And right now, more than ever, I'm focused on helping these leaders to own their sacred story. Where my focus is right now is I'm writing my first book, and it's on a topic that's called ancestral leadership that I've been really claiming. And what does it mean to become an ancestral leader? And that plays into understanding your sacred story, understanding that each and every one of us has a story, and it's divinely your story. And just owning that these things that you have gone through in your life haven't happened to you, but it's happened for you. And it's literally your gift to the world. And I feel like for me, my purpose right now is to continue to help these leaders to do this, what you're doing, which is like to help them to honor their story, to share more of that story, to understand the frameworks that will allow them to become a great storyteller, and to recognize the impact that story has for generations to come.
And it's so important as you help others find their story, find their missions, find their place in the world, for them to tap into that story, tap into that authenticity. And just grateful that you're doing that work. And also, before we finish, I would love to hear a little bit more about you finding your love and your new baby. I haven't quite announced this yet. I guess by the time this video comes out, I will have announced it. But we're expecting our first as well late this year. And super
I love it.
Yeah.
One Heart Tribe.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of One Heart babies lately. It took a couple of years, and now they seem to be popping up everywhere. And excited to be joining you in that journey. And I'd love to hear what that journey has been for you, and what role. I've seen some beautiful posts and wisdom already that on what your daughter is teaching you, but I'd love to hear a little more.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I really believe that One Heart has played such a significant role in me being chosen to be the father of Skyla, my daughter. Her middle name is my grandmother's name, who showed up in that ceremony I spoke about earlier at One Heart. And One Heart was this opportunity for me to connect to the divine feminine, which allowed me to then understand it, to become a match to it, to heal it within me, so that therefore I could attract it in my fiance, Ashley, and played such a huge role. And once I met Ashley, and that it was like everything started to manifest super quickly. And one of the things also that you learn when you work with with ayahuasca, and you go through a One Heart, and you learn about the reverence behind it, and you find that within yourself, like you start to live life as a ceremony. And that's one of the biggest things. If there's one thing that you take from this entire podcast, is that I look at life now as a ceremony, and everything that I do, I treat with the reverence of a ceremony. And so leading into becoming a father, I continue to do the work, right? Continue to work with the plant medicine, but also that is 9 months when Ashley, my fiance, got pregnant. We see the changes in our women, in our goddesses, right? That they're the chosen ones that are literally the portals for life itself. It's the most unbelievable thing ever. And we biologically can see those changes in the women. But what's not really talked about a lot is that during those same 9 months, the men are also going through a pregnancy. It may look different biologically, but we are actually going through a transformation of stepping into the embodiment of the Father and what the Father is for us, right? And there's a threshold that's crossed. There's a rite of passage and initiation of you stepping into that Father archetype. And so, again, I wouldn't have thought like this and treated those 9 months in a ceremonial process like of going through my rite of passage to fatherhood if it wasn't for One Heart, right? In the beginning, showing me that and going through these kind of this stuff. So that's why I highly recommend it. For me, going through that allowed me to just truly be present to that birth in ways that I know I genuinely think that my daughter wouldn't have chosen me to be her father if I didn't have this reverence and treat the pregnancy and step into fatherhood the way I did. And now I'm seeing it just in my daughter. I think that this is our part of all of our purposes, to raise the new humans that are coming into this planet as these conscious children from the jump, because I took me to my 30s to learn these things like self-love and harmony and understanding how to work with Mother Nature and all these things, right? And it's like, yes, we get to be the providers and the protectors, but also we get to be present. And we get to truly nourish our women and allow them to be the mothers and to allow them to be the divine goddesses that they are, and to be present with our children. And so for me, it's been, I think the greatest of all the ceremonies has been the birth of my daughter. And now I'm just, every day is the best day of my life. Seeing every day, learning from her and watching her with her new, now we're communicating and, different sounds. I had a dream last night. She's going to say daddy, dad, but it hasn't happened yet. But she's just, God, it's unbelievable just watching her grow every day and evolve.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful message as far as like the ceremony, the intentionality of calling in that child. And I know Jeanette and I will both be in our 40s when the baby is born. And it's been a long path to get here. It's been both of our dreams. And yeah, there's so much that I think has gone into the child we're calling in that wouldn't have been there had we called in a child earlier in life. And yeah, it's just it is such a journey. There's been so many pieces to it that have gone into this child coming into the earth and everything that's come before it. To really be mindful of that and to hold that energy and to be able to hold some of that space. It's so beautiful. And no doubt you guys called in a special child, and so excited to hopefully do a One Heart family reunion sometime soon.
That'd be so epic. Let's go, please. That'd be so great. I was going to go to the last one that was at Kinkara, but I think it's sold out right when I went to apply. So guys, if you're watching this and you haven't gone to One Heart and you see one that you're called to, like, make a move, because they fill up quick.
Yeah, well, we'll get you on one when it's calling next. And so appreciate you being here.
Yeah, shout out to you, Brandon. And again, thank you for being a steward of this mission. I think One Heart is so special, and it's truly creating a legacy that will be felt beyond your years. And so just sending so much love and appreciation and gratitude to you and Barry and Tim. I see Tim is like all in.
The whole team, yeah.
The whole Tim, shout out to Tim.
Yeah. Some of our team you met on participants on Journey 2. Tim.
Yeah. Solid, right.
Yeah. So anyway, so grateful to share this with you. And thank you for kicking off our first episode of Stories of Transformation. And thank you for all that you are in the world. I truly, truly respect you and admire all that you're up to.
Thank you so much, brother.
From my left to Ashley and Skyla.
Yes. Love you, brother. Congratulations again. Wow.
Thank you. We are very grateful to our guests for sharing their stories of transformation with One Heart. And we hope their wisdom will support you in your life journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast so you'll never miss out. If you're a heart-centered leader or conscious creator who's ready to level up your life and impact in the world, we humbly invite you to apply to our next One Heart journey. One Heart was created to support leaders like you to live and lead from a place of true alignment, fulfillment, and joy. Our 8-week Human Life Accelerator is built around a 1-week journey to Costa Rica with sacred psychedelic plant medicine and a world-class experience that blends many ancient and modern modalities for growth. Before and after this journey, we help you prepare and integrate all your breakthroughs with our 5-star experience. Over 500 amazing leaders have joined One Heart on our journeys over the past 4 years. If you'd like to apply to join our next journey, head over to oneheart.com. That's the number 1, HEART.com to apply. Till next time.